Welcome back to the Whiteout Weekly podcast in one of the strangest episodes we have ever put out. As everyone knows, James Franklin's 12-year tenure as the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions came to an end mid-season after their third straight loss, a 22-21 loss to Northwestern of all teams, the preseason number two ranked team in the nation, Dave, currently sits at 3-3. I'll be honest, I did not expect this firing to come mid-season. But when you lose, I mean, Oregon just completely, everyone could say it now, they broke Penn State.
Mhm.
Completely broke them this season. I don't like Penn State doesn't seem like an institution that would fire someone mid-season, but I think things have gotten so toxic, something had to be done. And now after the James Franklin firing, I've heard every single college football coach is named as a six, maybe like not Kirby Smart, but like Marcus Freeman. They're shouting his name out as he might go to Penn State. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like they're in the national championship last year. Why would he? Anyways, a lot of clickbait, a lot of talk, a lot of whirlwind news coming around. So we're here to try our best to separate the clickbait from the actual facts. And one actual fact earlier, recording this, one of the big names standing out was Kirk Cignetti, which from Indiana, coming to Penn State as their next ball coach, which did not make a lick of sense to me when people were floating that idea out. He just signed an 8-year, $93 million deal from Indiana. So are we kind of responsible for Cignetti getting almost $100 million over the next 8 years?
1000%. You're welcome, Kurt Signetti.
That was
Enjoy.
just, yeah, that was just like a complete panic hire. Like, shit, what do you want, dude? Stay here. And then another popular name that was floated around a bunch of media outlets, Matt Rule, former Penn Stater himself. He said on the Pat McAfee show, Nebraska is a destination job. Destination job. And I have a great young team. This is one of the greatest places in the world. I love Pat Kraft, Penn State 80, and I'm sure he's going to find the right guy for Penn State. So it looks like Matt Rule, Kirk Cignetti, two of the bigger names that I saw going around are out as potential head coach candidates for to replace James Franklin. And then I'm looking at the rest of the list. It's just like, you know, Bill O'Brien had success at BC, smaller school, comes to Penn State, has some success, leaves, thinks he's a little bigger than his britches, has the Texans job. But James Franklin kind of followed a similar path. Smaller school in Vanderbilt, built them up to success, comes to Penn State. We're expecting him to build us to higher heights. You know, he had that we're trying to be elite, not great speech
Mhm.
7 years ago now. So, what is it going to take as from a fan's perspective? I know Pat Kraft put out his list of demands sort of for the next head coach. But Dave, as a fan, what do you want from your next head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions?
For me, I err on the side of, and when I look at the failures of James Franklin specifically in big games, the common theme or the common denominator was the offense became inept and they were unable to score points. So I think for me, when I look at the names that are out there and the realistic options, is looking for someone that can come in and have an immediate impact on the offense.
Hmm.
I think based on Penn State's tradition and what we've been able, I know, granted, this year has been a wild year. The defense, from a consistency standpoint, has definitely been a topic of conversation since the Oregon game. But I think overall you feel pretty confident that the defensive side of the ball will be there. Where we've really lacked is the ability to put up points, especially in big games, and the consistent development of the skill positions, primarily quarterback and wide receiver.
Yes,
So I
yes.
think for me, that's priority number one.
A,
Like Pat
quar
Kraft
a
said, the
quarterback
recruiting
whisperer,
piece has
if
to
you
be there.
will.
Yeah, quarterback whisperer.
Okay.
has a scheme that can consistently put up points, especially in big moments.
I agree because that was my main thing with Franklin. I said it last podcast. It's like you can't look at him and be like, "Hey, we need your overriding decision on this defensive scheme on this offensive play."
Hmm.
Because he'll just be like, "Run what you do, run your scheme, run your offense." I totally agree. We need a quarterback whisperer
Hmm.
because I mean, like we can be a ground and pound team like we have been in the past throughout our history. But college has changed. The quarterbacks, wide receivers are getting the most NIL money. We need to develop with the times. And yeah, I think along with an offensive minded head coach who has good relationships with quarterbacks, they also have to have sort of like a kind of modern mindset, but just like, how stuff's flowing these days with NIL and how
Yep.
things can be fluid, things can change. I just wanted to mention one thing. The reason I was totally against Matt Rule as well. Kirk Cignetti, I was like, that's a
Likewise.
that's a pipe dream. Matt Rule, I don't want him. I'm sorry, Penn Stater, love you, alumni, but guess his record against top 25 teams.
It's pretty similar to the guy that just fired, ain't it?
It's 2-23. And
Yeah.
guess what? He's won both those games with Temple, not even with Nebraska. 0 and
Hmm.
18 against ranked opponents since leaving Temple.
Hmm.
I saw that come across my feed and I was like, yeah, why did I get so hyped about that guy?
Yeah.
So out of the names on our list here, I mean, there's some that obviously jump out more than others. What percent chance do you think this might be a meme in a couple months? Do you put as Penn State getting Marcus Freeman to jump ship? Less than a
I
percent?
when this came across, I was thinking really with any of these sitting head coaches. I mean, the conversation Penn State is definitely the biggest job on the market right now and one of the premier jobs you'd like to think within the country. Is it a better job than Notre Dame? I think some aspects you could you could talk yourself into it where there's more money to be had, especially with the being in a conference, the amount of resources that are poured into it. Not that Notre Dame doesn't also have a rich alumni base, but ultimately, you look at it, would Marcus Freeman leave his current situation in Notre Dame to go to Penn State? I really don't think so.
Yeah, I think I put it at like 0.00001%
Yeah, I'd
that
be shocked.
he moves. So who out of the list we got on our dock here, who's sticking out for you?
He,
Maybe two or three names, just because we got a lot on here.
I'll start off with the wild card. The wild
I
card,
like that.
Urban Meyer.
Oh my God. What a
That's
start.
certainly an intriguing one. He's unemployed. He's on
Hmm.
the Fox Big Noon kickoff. We
Hmm.
know outside of his very short NFL tenure, he's a very successful college football head coach. So that's one that is definitely intriguing.
Seeing
And
seeing that Photoshop of Urban Meyer in Penn State, like head coaching gear, I was just like, this would be hilarious. Like I'm
yeah,
all for it, to be honest. Like throw
yeah,
anything at the wall at this point.
I
Like let's
know.
get Urban in here. Come on.
So for me,
Make
that's
it a
the
party
wild
in State
card.
College.
The two that I could definitely see happening that I'm probably the biggest proponent of. One, I'm intrigued with Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri. I really, I really like what he's done with that program. He's won at a high level, especially in the SEC, with not having the top tier resources that in Alabama, a Georgia, and LSU have. Obviously, there's the component of Bo's there,
I was about to
and
say,
we're
took
gonna
our
see what we have. We'll talk about in a little bit, but the rest of the way here with Grunk, but that could create an interesting storyline if you get Drinkwitz and a QB, and that's kind of been some of the conversation around the coaching carousel as well, and what realistically can come to fruition, where you end up getting a head coach and a quarterback along with some of the recruits. So he's one that I would definitely be a fan of. And then the second one, which I know is gaining some traction, especially if you're monitoring the odds boards for odds to be Penn State's next head coach, is Joe Brady current
Hmm.
Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. Even saw on Twitter today it's officially private jet tracking season.
Ooh, the
Saw
QAnons are
someone,
out.
can't remember the name off the top of my head, but tracking a private jet from Buffalo to State College this week. Um, there's a lot that you can draw lines to and connections there. So back in the 2015, I believe it was the Big Ten championship run, he was a grad assistant at the time here at Penn State, was the offensive coordinator and play caller for LSU during that remarkable championship run with Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. And current Buffalo Bills owner is Terry Pagula, who's a Penn State alum, huge donor to the program and to Penn State in general. If you've seen or heard of Penn State's hockey arena, it's Pagula Ice Arena. So there's the theory that he's got a hand in this, both
Yeah.
with Franklin's buyout and to force the hand to Brady as the head coach. And then
Sorry
there's
to cut
also
you
a
off here,
conversation. Yeah.
but like, all right, so the buyout for Franklin was 59 million, which I
Mhm.
think is being misreported because whatever team eventually signs into a long-term contract, aren't they going to pick up most of that money?
I believe there's a portion of it. I want to say I saw there was some sort of clause where if he ends up with a job and is employed next year, I believe Penn State only owes somewhere in the ballpark of like 15 to 18 million on that.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
far less,
So okay, that was not clickbait.
which
Cool.
I would anticipate somebody's gonna
I think he's
employ
going to
James Franklin.
VTech. That's my
Yeah.
guess. I think he's
Yeah.
going there.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like you're one of these guys, like not a Pakula, not at that level, but you're like the tier below him
Hmm.
in this new NIL landscape, and you just wrote an $8 million check. Let's go like $10 million, even number for Franklin. And they're like, hey, we're gonna win with by 2030. Guarantee you a national championship's coming. 5 years in, you're $10 million. They're just like, sorry, starting over. Can we have another 10? I'd be like, fuck you. No,
Yeah.
I'm not giving you another 10 million. You just didn't do anything with that. Like,
Right.
prove something first. But then, there are other guys who just are Scrooge McDuck diving into their vaults of
Hmm.
gold coins. So they just have unlimited money, can pull from wherever.
Yeah.
And we luckily have one of those alumni bases. So I wouldn't rule any sort of preposterous contract out again.
Hmm.
Sorry, another name I meant to mention. I don't know if you brought him up, Matt Campbell, the Iowa State.
Yep.
Um, I like him. I like what Iowa State's done this year. I like his offensive game plans, but he's been heavily linked to that Wisconsin job. Now
Hmm.
that Wisconsin's kind of, off the Luke Fickell's on the hot seat, and he's kind of been already linked to being like, that's my dream school, my dream job. So once I've researched all about him, that found that out and was like, I was all for nothing. But I do love, I had that as one of my, yeah, no, my number one, Joe Brady.
Hmm.
Um, and you should look at that LSU team and what he was able to do as an offensive coordinator. Like
Yep.
Coach O was that rah
Hmm.
rah, like here we go, we're gonna run through a brick wall for this guy. But Joe Brady was the
Yeah.
X's and O's for that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson scheme that set
Yeah.
up to be probably one of the best offenses of this century. Like
Hmm.
you got
Easy.
USC and them, I would say
Yeah.
number one, number two. Um, and then yeah, like because I was talking to other people about this, the step down from the NFL, they're like, well, he wouldn't take a demotion.
Mhm.
Like that's not an offensive coordinator of the NFL to a college head coach. I don't really think that's a demotion, do you?
No, I mean, I think a lot of times it depends on the person. I mean, you could take the college head coaching job, and if he's turns out to be really successful, he'll have that opportunity to be able to leap back to the NFL. I would think, especially with having that prior experience. That's part of the risk that you run with a guy like Joe Brady too. Is he someone that would be in for the long haul? Now, granted, and that's the aspect of this as well, where you just spent, no matter who footed the bill, spent 50 to 60 million to buy out James Franklin. you want to bring someone in that can make an immediate impact or at least show signs that, hey, they're going to be the guy that gets you over the hump. So the conversation around Brady is, hey, he's never been a head coach. Was this worth it? I mean, at the end of the day, it has it ran its course. So you need some new life in here from a leadership perspective. So
Mhm.
as you're kind of looking through these candidates as well, just from my mind is who's going to come in that can truly take the program over the top, which is really why you made this move, especially this soon and this quickly.
I know, and Urban Meyer just keeps coming back to my mind every time you say that. Like we need someone who can fix it now, and it's kind of like he
Plus, with Urban,
he
with
could.
all the situations, he's one that could come in probably the soonest, right? That's the other aspect of this
Hmm.
is the timeline where all these other guys are sitting in their positions, and you got a tight timeline. You got November, and then really it wouldn't be resolved until what? After conference championship week, and then you got a couple weeks to wrap up and salvage what you can from this year's recruiting class, and then it's going to be a heavy transfer portal window for Penn State this year.
Oh yeah.
As you can imagine, the amount of guys on the team currently that are likely going to look to go elsewhere,
I mean,
just
the
based on their
decommit
coaching.
recruitment timeline was just like, what the hell?
I know.
There are
I'm
so
still
many
committed,
names
but
that
I'm
are,
100%
yeah.
opening my recruitment.
It's like four-star decommitted, four-star decommitted. Damn.
Yeah, yeah, it's rough, but you know it was coming.
And then one last name I gotta throw at you, just because
Mhm.
it's fun. Old Chucky, John Gruden.
John Gruden.
Yeah, he went on that
Here's a
tour.
guy who just loves football.
Here's a guy who went on the tour around the SEC and loved what he saw, man. Would he come to a Big Ten school like Penn State, though, and leave his cushy, just breaking down film, probably making a large sum of money from Barstool down in Florida?
I think he's itching to coach again. There's part of that where, hey, it could be. I don't want to say diamond in the rough. It could end up being a really nice hire, but there's also for me that aspect of it where seems like a very unserious hire, if that makes sense.
No,
Just
no,
how he's
yeah,
Barstool
I
Gruden now on
understand.
Twitter. He's
Hmm.
opening up all these gift boxes from all these programs. Yes, he's had success as a head coach, so it's not a joke from that perspective. But to me, I can't see Penn State making that move just because I think it would be could be viewed that way in the national spotlight.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, so other news, obviously, Drew Aller
Mhm.
out for the rest of the season. We're gonna get a lot of Ethan Grunk
Mhm.
minor, and maybe even some Jackson Smolik.
Mhm.
Have they announced any kind of split with them, or is it just Grunk's number one right now?
No, it sounds like it's Grunk's team. I actually liked what Terry Smith had to say, new interim head coach at his
Shout
press
out Terry,
conference. Shout out to Terry.
follower, right
He
out.
was very real and transparent where he shared what he talked to Grunk about, where they're both in the same situation where they were thrusted into roles that they weren't expecting
Hmm.
probably about 3 weeks ago. So it does sound like it's Grunk's shit now, and he's got a tough test coming up on the road at Kinnick. So I think we're gonna find out pretty quickly what's there. You're talking about a guy that's got 12, I think 12 pass attempts to his name since he's enrolled at Penn State. So there's a lot to be unfolded. There's that uncertainty there. So obviously he's running the team for the rest of the year, and also you have to imagine he's on auditioning for next year because you never know what's going to come, especially with a new coaching staff and everything that exists with the transfer portal.
Sorry, I just got so distracted. Iowa beat Wisconsin 37 to nothing last week.
Hmm.
Before that, they only lost to Indiana, who looks like world beaters right now by
Yep.
5 points.
Yeah. And
Penn State's +3 at
mhm.
Kinnick Stadium. That's an even spread if you take away
Mhm.
the home field advantage points.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm taking Penn State money line all day. We have to cancel that from the Big Ten betting bonanza.
Yeah.
We'll both probably put $100 or something on that, so that might ruin
Easy.
both of our lives.
Yeah.
$100 can do that. Please subscribe. But that is a Penn State spread if I've ever seen one. And then there's the whole thing with like, I don't know if it's just in my head, but like colleges, when they fire their coach, the team
Yeah.
kind of rallies around itself and wins that next week at least.
Yeah, I think we're gonna find out a lot, and I'm really actually excited to watch this game. I have not been excited to watch the last two. Well, definitely this past weekend, and then obviously the way the UCLA game unfolded. But it sounds like we're potentially going to be seeing some changes across the depth chart, which I know for us and most of the fan base has been itching to see, especially during spring ball and fall camp, all the buzz around, if you look at the wide receiver position, guys like Kobe Howard, Tyseer Denmark, that have not seen the field,
Hmm.
and no ill will or disrespect to Liam Clifford, but like these are the guys that are the future that we need to be seeing what we have and not Liam Clifford out there on the field.
Yeah.
So it sounds like based on Terry Smith's comments that the best guys are going to be playing and your playing time's strictly going to be determined based on your production on the field. So definitely excited to see that, and then really intrigued to see what we get from the two coordinators as well. I think we're going to see on the offensive side of the ball what did Franklin have his hand in? Do we see a difference from Andy Kotelnicki where the play calls and the execution is just different? Was Franklin having his hand in that
Like
and
holding him back, you mean?
holding him back?
Giving
And
him the most vanilla offense I've seen in years.
exactly. So, I mean, I think for someone like Kotelnicki, I mean, he's coaching for probably his next role. If you bring in
Yeah,
a new
he's
head
coaching for a
coach,
Pop Warner role, bro, right
yeah,
now. His
I
offense is the
know.
worst.
I didn't clarify what role, but yeah, it's definitely his next role because you'd have to imagine a new head coach probably won't retain him. I wouldn't imagine. So he's got to show something here. These last six games.
Yeah,
So
big
I think
time.
it's going to be interesting from that perspective, and I think Terry Smith's someone that these guys are going to play hard for, and obviously it's likely been an emotional week for the team, and they are likely feeling sense of ownership here where they got their coach fired
Yeah, I
and they
think
want to prove it
I
wrong.
forget who said it. Someone put out a statement that was like, we got James Franklin fired. It wasn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't him,
Yeah.
it was us. But it's like James Franklin also put you guys in that
Yeah.
situation. So it's kind of a paradox that you're saying that. So
Yeah.
whatever.
But
I couldn't be happier for Terry Smith. I really hope that he succeeds in this interim role and maintains a role with the team going forward, whether that be my hot take,
mhm,
potentially the next head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions,
mhm.
kind of like Marcus Freeman took over as interim, correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then they hired him to be head
Yep.
coach.
Yep.
He was again a player's coach, excuse me, who, found fire with Notre Dame. So I'm really rooting for Terry Smith to be Penn State's to be successful this
Mhm.
season, and then Penn State have a serious look at him as possibly the next head coach. But if not for him, because I know that's not the splashy name, the name that's going to get, five-star recruits here right away, which is what I
Mhm.
know a lot of people want after losing out on a lot of NIL money. Joe Brady would be my other prediction, just because of
None the-
that Gula connection. And I just looked it up. I mean, the salary difference is substantially
Yeah.
bigger if you're a head coach of a university for 8 years, you know?
Yeah. Nonetheless, I think yes, there's going to be a ton of staff changes and player changes. Terry Smith, I think, would be someone that has to have the new coach has to take a hard look at retaining Terry Smith. I think he's meant a
Yes.
lot to the
Yeah,
program.
has to.
Obviously, he meant a lot to Franklin. We hear James Franklin's a great recruiter. Terry Smith is a huge part of that with, his the pipeline that he's built within the Northeast, within obviously PA, Virginia, Maryland. The fact, like you mentioned, where he's a big time players coach, builds those great relationships with the players. And are we consistently getting the five stars into the program? No, but the talent that is coming in, Terry Smith does have a large part to play with that. And plus, just being a former, Penn State alum, Penn State letterman as well, definitely um, is an aspect to it. So I know Penn State's got a lot of lettermen on the staff. They got Dan Connor now, Trace McSorley, Deion Barnes. Can't expect all those guys to be back next year, but
Hmm.
I think Terry Smith's one that should take a hard look at bringing back.
And again, he's just one of those guys that played defensive back. So it's like
Yeah.
you make him the secondary coach. It's like now we have somebody who, or even defensive coordinator, like you
Yeah.
have somebody who has a specific role that they are very knowledgeable and that you can look at. Hey, what coverage do we run on this 3rd and 8 crucial down in a critical game? I'm not going to panic and be like, just stick to the plan, run the vanilla offense, run the vanilla defense.
Do you think Jim Knowles will be back next year?
That's a great question. What is his current contract? Let me look it up.
Believe it's a
That's a really good
three.
three
Believe it's a
year.
three.
Yeah. 3.1. He'll be back. He'll
You
be
think no
back.
matter what?
Yeah. I mean, unless we're giving up, you know, 40 points to like Rutgers or Maryland at the end of the year, then
Hmm.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's gonna right the ship eventually. Maybe I mean just some injuries happening, a lot of
Yeah.
rotational players not really fitting out in the way he wanted to, him getting his scheme across to our players that aren't necessarily the guys
Mhm.
he would
Yeah.
recruit or put in those positions. I think he's back. I think Big Zamboni, get out of town.
Yep. I agree.
And you didn't give a prediction for yours.
I,
I gave a silly
I
one and an actual one, so you can give both.
you went with Joe Brady, right?
You can double up. Yeah. I just need to switch
Yeah, I
as well.
think I think for me, it's tough between Brady and I really do like Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri. Not because of the Bo Peep storyline, but because I really like him as a coach. I think he's offensive minded. He's a little bit of that quarterback whisperer,
Hmm.
and he's proven that he can put up points in the SEC. And when you look at from a recruiting aspect, I mean, he's got at this point, including Bo, he's got three PA QB commits on his roster, including the number one quarterback in the country from last year, Matt Zoller. So the biggest thing that we're looking for is in-game production and points, but that coupled with the recruiting aspect, I would really be pleased if they were able to get him. But I'm between him and Joe Brady.
And Drinkwitz, those college kids will go crazy with that name.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
crazy. So we're in agreement that we're probably going to let Terry Smith run this season out, right?
Yeah, it's hard because like for me, it's waiting. Seems like almost daily, like for something to break because you never know how it's gonna roll. But I think
It's crazy.
realistically,
Yeah.
it's hard to imagine these guys leaving their current or announcing that. Even if you look at Drinkwitz, Missouri, I know they just lost to Bama, but they're what 5-1. It was even the Kirk Cignetti thing. Like I know that's wrapped up and it was definitely a pipe dream, but is he gonna announce that he's going to Penn State when he's got Indiana, number three team in the country, and they're 5-0?
That's
So
like the
it's
Marcus Freeman thing. It's like,
exactly
he
the same
made
thing.
the national championship. What are you
Yeah,
guys talking about? Like,
yeah.
he's not just
So
gonna be
it's
like,
that
yeah,
interesting
sorry.
dynamic where you do want to get someone announced so that you can gain some traction with recruiting and get ground on that, but also you want to make the right hire that's going to truly get us to national championship contention. So,
That's why I think Terry Smith is so important, keeping
yeah,
that link in the chain of
yeah.
not only recruitment but players, just culture, everything to go on with Penn State.
And the timing was, I know we were definitely shocked with how quickly they pulled the trigger, but this is a far better situation where a guy like Terry Smith can rally these guys and really make something of the season, as opposed to Penn State just being dead man walking the rest of the year because
Hmm.
that Beaver Stadium environment for the rest of those home games was only going to get that much more toxic.
Oh God, it would have been, yeah, brutal.
If he's still in there as head coach when Nebraska comes to town and Matt Rule rumors are still out there and the fans are chanting for Matt Rule while
Yeah, we
Franklin's still
want
on the
rule. We
sideline,
want rule.
yeah, that would have been a horrible look for the university. So
Yeah.
definitely kudos to Pat Kraft for making this happen.
All right, so I'm putting us both down for Penn State money line. Are you cool with that?
I'm very cool with that.
For next week's Big Ten betting bonanza, we will have that out to you tomorrow because there is a Big Ten game tomorrow, correct?
There is.
Okay. Do you mind giving the records for the Big Ten betting bonanza on the air? Because I do not have them in front of me.
I actually had a killer week last week.
Hey now.
3-0.
Woohoo! First undefeated week of
That's right, baby.
2025. Let's go,
Gaining
dude.
some traction. I'm up to
Wait,
10
were
and
you
a
were you
huh?
all totals?
I was no, only one.
Oh, okay.
Washington -9.5 versus Rutgers.
Great call.
Wisconsin and Iowa under 37.5. That hit 37. And then Maryland +6.5 versus Nebraska. For a 3-0 week brings me to 10 and 11 on the year.
All right, we're climbing to 500. I'm falling.
And then Luch for you.
I
One,
went over.
how are we gonna count this bonus pick?
What do you, what's up? What was my bonus pick?
USC 2.5 versus Michigan, which hit.
Did I go for three?
You went 1 and 2.
One and two. Give me a half
All right.
for the bonus pick.
So
Um,
half a bonanza point. So ultimately you are 10
so
and
one and a half and two.
yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. It's 500 basically.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm 10 and 11 and a half, or what? No.
No, you're 10.5 and 12.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. 20.
Yeah.
Wait, 21. That means I have another
You got that
game
right?
because you're 10 and 11. That's 21. Yeah, because I had four games. Stupid.
Yeah.
I'd be 10. Yeah. We're gonna do more research for you guys because we honestly are gonna get into more than just the Big Ten. We just need to conquer the Big Ten first, as we have the past two seasons, going over 67%. We got to hit that again. And then we're going to give you some winners all season long. Again, the free picks will be out tomorrow. Me and Dave will text our picks back and forth. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has stuck with us through all this chaos, all this nonsense over the past 3 weeks. It's been pretty much hell if you're a Penn State slash Philadelphia sports fan, but we survive, you know? That's what Philly does. We get back up and we fight. I didn't hear no bell. I'm ready for Penn State's next head coach. 2025 can take a hike. Let's look on to 2026 and the bright future for the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Birds are chirping, baby. New leaders coming. Take us to the promised land.
See you guys.